Hello and welcome to Grand Prix Yogyakarta coverage for the MSEM format. Today we're going to be watching the finals match between Kevin Norton, who is on Black-Red Adiran Survivor, and BluesEclipse, who is on Blue-Red Infuse the Storm. So essentially, both these players are in some variant of a combo deck. Kevin's deck is essentially a strong all-in combo deck that can go off easily turn 2 or turn 3 and has an aggro backup plan. Blues, on the other hand, is playing a much more controlling game, but Infuse the Storm gives him a one-card combo finish. These two players have played earlier in the tournament in order to determine seeding at the end of the Swiss portion of the tournament. In that match, Kevin took it over Blues 2-0. And right now, Kevin is opening up turn 1 with Mountain Devouring Flame, which gives him or actually doesn't give him access to the turn 2, because Kevin would need a black land as well. But Devouring Flame is a very powerful start here. So Blues is going Shock Fetch, and then probably going to try and put some burn on this Devouring Flame to kill it. No, okay. Island, dig for something with Seek Prophecy, or Cantrip? Yeah, Seek Prophecy. And the cards revealed are Distant Thunder, Redo, and Shigenja Sanctuary. Depending on how many lands Blues has in hand, might take the Shigenja, but I think, yeah, Distant Thunder is the right call here because you want removal on Kevin's cards 10 times out of 10. Okay, Crumbling Precipice, the Pain land. So could tap for, no, tapping a mountain. So Fretport Mob, okay. So redundancy for the, and Desert Slaughter, interesting. So this is kind of just like a Kevin just dumping his hand early. And I don't believe BluesEclipse has Shaldron's Rage main. So Kevin can just win through the aggro plan if Blues just doesn't have enough burn to answer all of his creatures. Okay, so sacrificing Desert Slaughter to Devouring Flame, Fretport Mob becomes a 2-2 with haste. This sets up next turn. So Kevin has a Disease Prophet Desert Slaughter combo online next turn, essentially. So swings in for 4. We do know, however, that Blues has removal for Devouring Flame, so unless Kevin has... So actually, Kevin can't do the Disease Prophet combo next turn, assuming that Blues kills Devouring Flame here. And yep, here comes a Distant Thunder and Devouring Flame, discarding a mountain. In response, interesting, sacrificing Devouring Flame to itself doesn't really do anything as far as I know, but... And then another Seek Prophecy right here. Probably again, hoping to find another piece of burn. Storm Surge. Okay, yeah, I don't think you want to play... Oracle's Vision actually ends up being a double-edged sword in this matchup, so probably not taking that. Storm Surge, I think, is the safest option. Unleashed Strike functions as burn, but it's also like... It depends on if Blues has like a cantrip or like cheap card in hand, then Storm Surge. If Blues doesn't have anything else cheap in hand, then Unleash the Dragon. And Blues takes Oracle. What? I'm very surprised by that, because Oracle's Vision can end up milling Kevin into like Adiran Survivors, or in this case he already has Desert Slaughter in grave, but just any of like Kevin's like strong cards in grave. Maybe that means Blues has Infuse the Storm in hand and is trying to go off before Kevin can go off. Because Blues has already played Seek Prophecy, and then Oracle's Vision does give Blues like a critical density of cards in grave. So another Fretport Mob. Honestly, having Fretport Mob is not what Kevin wants here. They're like an alternate WinCon, but they're very slow and not super great when you're trying to do the beatdown matchup. Also not hitting a third land drop. And it's interesting, playing Social Graces off of the Pain land. So cantripping there. Blood Artist and Twilight Blade in hand. So all of this kind of centers around Devouring Flame being essential because needing a sack outlet here. So Blues have, okay, Shugenja Castle, Oracle's Vision. Let's see what each player mills. Arcgen, Magmatic Torrent, and Infuse. Oh, hitting Infuse off of Infuse. I don't think that actually does much, but it is just another target. And I do, Kevin, yeah, that's the bad thing. Kevin mills Adiran Survivor. And so while like Kevin doesn't have a sack outlet or anything to sack right now to bring Adiran Survivor back, top decks could become very deadly here. Like top deck Egg of Avarice, sack something to Egg of Avarice, get Adiran Survivor, get another Adiran Survivor, and then next turn use Egg to get like a sack outlet, and then Kevin has 2 Blood Artist effects in hand and can go off. So basically, Kevin really needs like Egg of Avarice here. And Blue's just going to end there. Okay, so I guess Blue still hasn't hit Infuse because I think Blue's has enough to cast has enough engrave to cast Infuse and then just win the game. I haven't done the math, but with the Grave Shot adjacent, Distant Thunder, Storm Surge, etc., all being engraved, that should be enough. So Kevin tapping 2 for, is it a Blood Artist or did Kevin top deck Egg? Yeah, Twilight Blade. In response, another Social Graces, revealing Gift of the Phoenix and Blood Artist. Interesting. I really think that like at this point, Gift of the Phoenix and then digging for Egg and a land would have been better, but Kevin is on the beatdown. Notably, does with Twilight Blade now has a 3-turn clock, including this turn, because Blues is going to take 4 here. Oh, still responding to Blade. So I guess has Arcgen in hand for the Twilight Blade? Yeah. So that's a good set of plays. Does get Kevin a land drop here, which could be significant for going land, Egg of Avarice, and then something else. Oh yeah, and Shardstone Drift is good because that lets Kevin get back a Adiran Survivor next turn. So that's an uncounterable way of making the clock one turn on Blues 1 turn faster, because otherwise Kevin only has Blood Artist in hand, and so in like Blues will take 4 next turn and will need 5 damage the next turn, but won't have any unless Kevin top decks a creature with power. That's not going to happen. But Blues just playing Wayfarer Shrine and cracking it, making so that Kevin does not need another creature to hit that 2-turn clock. Grabbing an island. I guess just going hard on these cantrips to try and find an Infuse. So Oracle's Vision. So Blues milling Unleash the Dragon and 2 Frostfire Geysers. Kevin milling Wayfarer Shrine, Blood Artist, and Desert Slaughter. Now let's look at how many copies does Blues have of Infuse or Unleash the Dragon. Okay, 4 copies. So in that case, Blues can afford to mill a few right here. And still, I think notably still has enough mana to pay for Infuse the Apparatus. This turn, like has enough mana for another cantrip, Infuse the Apparatus. And actually, that's probably why Blues played the Wayfarer Shrine. I don't know if it was the right move, but I think that Blues was trying to like thin their library, however slightly. I do think that like putting, and I guess that like their thought process was like Kevin is getting back a Adiran Survivor anyway, so the clock is at 2 turns, whatever Blues does. So tapping. Oh, that's Infuse with the apparatus. As Blue says, I believe Blues does have enough gas to just kill Kevin on the spot here. Yeah, and as you can see, with the rising stack of Infuse targets. And really what makes it here is Unleash the Dragon. And getting Infuse off of Infuse doesn't really do much, but actually it can do some if you like stack. Actually, no. Depending on how you stack it, Infuse off of Infuse can kind of just be nutty. But yeah, this is more than dead, so I believe Kevin is just playing it out just to make sure, because there was a match in the previous top 5 set where Monger conceded when Blues didn't have a strong enough Infuse to kill Monger on the spot. So Kevin is just forcing Blues to play it out to make sure that Blues does actually have lethal. Kevin is saying not lethal, it does 16. And while Kevin's assessment here, assuming that Kevin did the math right and this does only do 16, there is definitely the possibility of Blues top decking Scorch off of one of these cantrips, because Blues is getting Social Graces, Oracle's Vision, and Seek Prophecy. Oh, interesting. Blues is casting his Redo targeting Oracle's Vision. Okay, but then Genesis targeting Redo, so it doesn't matter. So now that Blues has grabbed everything, laying out the stack. So Arcton resolves countering Redo. And if Kevin is right about this Infuse not killing, then that's a very strong reason for Kevin not to have played that Gift of the Phoenix earlier. And yeah, now Kevin is conceding. So game 1 goes to Blues. Let's look at sideboarding here and see what they'll probably bring in. So I think Shaldrin's Rage is an instant speed, either a single kill spell or just wipe if Kevin goes on the aggro plan is obviously coming in. Chains, I think, is coming in for sure in order to stop most of the synergy in Kevin's deck. I think Blues probably won't bring in Farmers. Okay, Blues might bring in Farmers Repos if Blues is scared enough of Egg of Avarice. But it's very hard to cast in Blues' deck and is very slow to cast. So Blues might just go with, okay, I have counter spells and I have burn, and I'll have to hope that's enough interaction. Which, to be fair, Redo is live on Egg until turn 4, and Arcgen is always live on Egg. Of course, Kevin is going first now, so both if Kevin has like a starting hand with Egg, both counter spells do miss. And letting Kevin have a resolved Egg is tantamount to losing the game. Meanwhile, on Kevin's side, I think Seal the Tomb is probably coming in just with how much Blues milks himself, because Seal the Tomb on Infuse the Apparatus really takes out most of basically takes out Blues' way of winning the game, and it makes Blues have to be much more cautious about playing Oracle's Vision or Seek Prophecy, etc. Nature's Claim might come in depending on how scared Kevin is of the Chains of Subdual, but I don't think the answer is that Kevin will be very scared of it. Starlit Rays, I think Blues is running enough basics. Or actually, Blues is okay, but Blues is only running 4 basics. But is running, I guess, Blues running only 4 basics is relevant. But if Blues is always fetching basics first, I don't know that Starlit Rays does enough to warrant being brought in. And I don't think this is I don't know if this is a grindy enough matchup for Zetlan on Masker. I think it's kind of just trying to turbo it. But it depends on how Kevin views the matchup. So Seal the Tomb for sure, maybe Nature's Claim, and then depending on how Kevin sees the matchup, either Unmask or Zetla. So let's get back into the match. Okay, so we're starting game 2. Both players have drawn initial hands and are deciding keeps. So Blues' hand comes down to Blues needs turn 1 burn. Kevin's going to mulligan. Interesting. While Blues is keeping their initial hand. And Kevin keeps at 6. That was a pretty snap keep, so I imagine that this has something attractive like an egg. Because egg, when you're on the play, is just a surefire route to victory. So Kevin playing the shock fetch on tapped turn 1. And grabbing a pain land. And Blues with the turn 1 social graces. And there it is, that's Egg of Avarice. And Kevin did bring in the Master of Balance. Interesting. I'm very surprised by this choice because the only thing that it really, it only puts creatures out of the range of Shaldrin's Rage, and even then only the base mode of Shaldrin's Rage. But I guess Kevin just values that enough. And Kevin did bring in the Unmaskers. So Kevin playing turn 1 Crumbling Precipice, and that's double Chains of Subdual and 2 Unleash the Dragon. Okay. So I guess Kevin takes the chains. Notably, because Kevin is on the play. Oh, Kevin is taking Unleash the Dragon. I guess. Oh, actually, okay, yeah, that makes sense because. No, I don't know that makes sense. I don't know that makes sense. I don't think that Blues has any way to interact with Kevin's board before Kevin can activate Egg at least once with this hand. Well, actually, no, I lied. Blues plays Blues' turn and then just plays a land, passes. Kevin untaps, plays a land, and then swings in with Unmasker, plays Egg, passes, and then Blues kills Unmasker, so then Kevin will need to have a creature in hand, which Kevin does, in order to maximize Egg, and then the turn after that, Blues drops Chains. So Kevin only gets 1 Egg activation here. Okay, playing Gift of the Phoenix. Did Kevin not have another land in hand? Okay, and plays a shock fetch tapped. I guess next turn. Next turn, play Egg, and then, but then Blues can kill Unmasker, and I don't think that Kevin has another land in hand. And yep, here comes the Infuse. I'm sorry, not Infuse. Here comes the Unleash, killing Unmasker. And this puts Kevin off of being able to play and activate Egg next turn. And then, unless Kevin has, I guess, draws a card and or draws land. I don't believe Kevin had any other 1-drops in hand from what I remember, though, so there really is no way for Kevin to Egg into activate Egg this turn. In which case, Blues just plays Chains next turn and then turns Kevin off of Egg completely. Oh, Kevin does have another land. Okay. Tapping 2 for Egg. Presumably. Yeah, there's Egg of Avarice. Does Kevin have a 1-drop in hand that I forgot about? And nope. Just has to pass. Meanwhile, Blues is going to untap and play Chains here. So plays the shock fetch and takes the shock from it. and now has enough mana to tap out, play Chains. And now Kevin is in a bad spot, unless even if Kevin boarded in Nature's Claim, Kevin already used 2 of his shock fetches. And I believe Kevin only has 1 or 2 green sources in his deck, maybe even just 1. Well, okay, that is a third shock fetch. So if Kevin draws Nature's Claim, he can use that third shock fetch to do some good. And Kevin has a second egg, but they're both useless. And Kevin is really on the back foot here. And now Blues is free to just play their controlling game of just play cantrip, keep counter magic up until Blues hits Infuse. And okay, here comes Oracle's Vision. So Kevin mills Twilight Blade, Wayfarer's Shrine, Devouring Flame. Blues mills Scorch, Infuse, Social Graces. So Blues basically mills like 3 straight hits. And so I guess Social Graces isn't really a hit per se because Blues already had one in Grave, but everything else is worth. I guess Blues didn't want to mill that Infuse, probably wanted to have it in hand instead. But that's fine. Blue still has 3 copies in a library. Okay, and orchestrates a Storm Surge. And to be fair, Kevin is just in burn range. 4 burn spells will do it. And holding up counter magic mana. So what's fun here is that like this could be a bluff, and then Blues just has Distant Thunder, but it's trying to get Kevin to play around counter magic like Redo. And Kevin's still taking more damage from these pain lands. Oh, and that's going to hurt even more. Kevin's basically making Blues' job easier by shocking himself. By taking 2 from Gift, takes 1 from the pain land. In response, going to play free Social Graces from his... Blues is going to play free Social Graces from his hand. Yeah, this is a matchup where Social Graces just does so much work. And yeah, Kevin is down to 6 life here. And Kevin's only life gain is the Blood Artist variants. And those kind of don't work very well when Kevin doesn't have any gas on the battlefield. And oh yeah, so I guess that was Autumnal Watch in Kevin's hand that we saw as the last card. And Kevin's tapping him for the Shardstoner, probably to find the green Pain Land, No Man's Township, and then maybe drew into Nature's Claim. Oh, that's just a mountain. Okay, so oh, that's bad. That just means that Kevin's trying to turn off his Pain Land and didn't get an answer. Tapping a mountain for another Gift of the Phoenix. And discarding No Man's Township. Oh no, I don't know if this is the right play. Kevin's going down to 4 life. Notably, what Blues can do is, on end, just grab back the Unleash the Dragon, which Unmasker grabbed earlier, and then if Blues has 3 other cantrips plus Unleash, then Blues just wins. Or just okay. Oh no. Okay. So but instead Blues is going to tap out for a Redo on Autumnal Watch, and since Kevin only has a Swamp, the Autumnal Watch doesn't resolve. It doesn't really matter though, since Blues had the Chains anyways. Okay, Seek Prophecy, and if Blues runs into like land cantrip, oh no. So that's Infuse the Apparatus, Shaldron's Rage, and Storm Surge. I think the play here for Blues is just take the Infuse and then play it, because that's more than enough. Because Infuse Blues only needs 4 damage to kill Kevin with this, and that's games. I believe that's the end of the set. Yeah. Good games to BluesEclipse, who in the run back takes it over Kevin Norton and wins the set 2-0. and wins Grand Prix Yogyakarta. Follow.
What is up?
That was a pretty cool finals. I'm kind of sad that I didn't watch the previous uh the match to decide who would go 4-0 for seeding, because I feel like
Mm-hmm.
that would have been some cool context for this rematch. But I think just seeing this was pretty dope.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if Kevin's going to be coming in, but for the time being, I'll just ask you whatever questions I had lined up. So the first one is,
Mm-hmm.
so you lost this matchup previously, and so this was the run back for you. What
Yeah.
coming into this matchup based on that previous loss, um, how did you change your play? What did you are there things that you did last time that you thought would be effective but ended up being subpar, or is there something that you neglected to do that you're trying out this time? Stuff like that.
Honestly, I didn't really change my play much, other than really just. I mean, game one really wasn't any change at all,
Mm-hmm.
because the base deck really only has one thing it does. It loads up the graveyard and drops Infuse.
Mm-hmm.
But game two, last time I played Kevin, I had tried swapping in negates in order to try and take out some of his discard stuff, and I kept my redos in the deck. This time I actually wound up siding out a couple of the redos and just bypassing the negates entirely. Only things I sided in were Shaldrayan's Rage and the Chains of Subdual.
Okay.
Yeah, we saw how those worked out. I can't believe you got both of them.
Yeah, I saw that opening hand there, 2 Unleash, 2 Chains, and then the 3 Lands, and I was like, yeah, this is... Unless you get something nuts like multiple Unmaskers, this is pretty much
Or
flawless.
if I drew a single Seal the Tomb that game. Ugh. Rough draws.
Yeah, though with as much as you were hurting yourself there, even drawing that single Seal the Tomb in the end wouldn't have helped you, because I had the burn in the graveyard anyway.
I lived another turn, and if I'd drawn it earlier, it would have changed things. Or hell, even just drawing another Nature's Claim. Or a single Nature's Claim, even.
Yeah,
this one really comes.
I was like, okay, Kevin's gonna fetch for the Nomad's Township, and you fetch for a mountain. I'm like, huh? And then you discarded the Nomad's Township to gift the Phoenix, and I'm like, no.
Yeah, I just didn't have the claim when I needed it.
Yeah, just fishing for answers there. I saw that myself, and I was thinking, okay, so
honestly,
here's hoping this works.
Claim on one of your own eggs just to gain life would have been a really ratchet play, but that almost,
oh my god,
just having a claim in general for that option almost might have been a good idea.
Yeah.
And so I was just asking Blues earlier, so this is the run back, and the last time you played, you won. But even despite that, was there anything that you felt that you changed in how you played between these two matches, or was it more of just card variance?
It was more just knowing, I already knew what he was playing because we have open deck lists, so I just played the same, but sometimes you just brick so hard.
Mm-hmm.
I saw one survivor there. My opening hand had 3 eggs in game 2.
and then seeing that 2 Chains of Subdual hand, guess I'll die.
Yeah, at that point I was like, you know what? Sometimes they draw it, and it's not best wizard wins, it's luckiest wizard wins.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That's life.
Yeah, but now Survivor's getting just completely gutted.
Mm-hmm.
So never going to get to play this again.
Well, you'll get to play some form of Anarchist Thanksgiving, just not combos off turn 2 or 3, hopefully.
But here's the thing, though. I have never once comboed off turn 2. I honestly... Mm-hmm. You could change this deck in the card in so many ways to avoid... Or change cards in so many ways to avoid the turn 2 without just completely destroying the card and destroying the deck. I've never comboed off at any point on turn 2 rarely turn 3. And as we've seen, this deck is completely vulnerable to Grave Hate, so I think the council is completely overreacting.
I think the council has basically said that they're okay with like the rare potential for turn 3, and then regularly combos off turn 4, while like the presence of egg makes it possible that there's rare turn 2s and relatively consistent turn 3s. And at least this
Then
is like,
get rid of it
and this is basically like what I've
or
also heard
something.
from
I don't
top
know.
decks.
I don't know. I'm too salty for this right now.
Ouch.
I can't necessarily argue with his opinion there.
Mhm.
I mean, Survivor itself, yeah, it's potent, but Survivor on its own isn't really the problem.
It's egg as well, yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know if I agree with, like, because the council, I believe, has mentioned that they're going to, that they're going to nerf all egg targets instead of nerfing egg, and I feel like that's kind of missing. Like, you need to like.
Yeah. If you're saying, okay, I need to nerf an entire subset of cards because of how they interact with this one item, then obviously that subset is not the problem. It's
Mhm.
the item that allows that subset to interact brokenly.
Mm-hmm. And I guess the council's logic is like, our one drops shouldn't be super powerful, but also it's like most of those one drops were not being played before egg existed because they weren't good in a vacuum.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, if you get rid of egg, then yeah, there's still, I suppose, the rare potential if you were to say Crumbling Precipice turn 1 a Devouring Flame, and then turn 2 drop in a pair of Survivors and loop those infinitely,
Mm-hmm.
then yes, you can swing for lethal. But that would be a much more rare occurrence, and even then, change Devouring Flame so that the sack so that there's a limit to how many times you can activate the ability.
I almost like, I think like Devouring Flame I don't think is an issue here because it's a strong card.
Yeah, I'm just using it as an example there.
Yeah. Yeah, ultimately I still think that while egg is a problematic card, I think cards which have the potential to be looped in the way that Adiran does are not like healthy for an environment. And I think that the council feels the same way. So
yeah, and I mean,
it's like
I can understand
it's
the
half
argument
the power
there.
level and half the principle of the thing.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I can understand the argument either way. I mean, having something that is that easily looped can be problematic.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to, say, increase it to paying 2 life in order to recur Survivor, then there you go.
Yeah, that prevents turn 2, turn 3 with Devouring Flame because now you're paying more life. Yeah, because now you're no wait actually
Mm-hmm.
we did the math on this.
It would barely
I think
prevent the turn 2 or
if you
turn
didn't
3
chalk
with.
fetch, if you just played a pain land turn 1, you would still be able to do the turn 2 or the turn 3. But if you lose more than 2 life, you would die essentially.
Yeah. And even then you would just barely be able to get the turn 2 with that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're also assuming, okay, the opponent doesn't have anything that's going to remove the Devouring Flame. They don't have anything to hit you for damage at instant speed or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But yeah, talking about your deck instead. Now that now that you've played an entire tournament with it, is there anything you won, but is there still anything that you'd change about your list if you were to resubmit this for the next GP? Just inside
changes that I'd make would definitely involve probably swapping out ops entirely.
Mm-hmm.
And just upping the counts on some of my other spells there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'd swap out 2 ops, go up to 4 Seek Prophecy, 4 Oracle's Vision, and 4 Monkey Shines.
Mm-hmm.
And probably swap out the redos for a different counterspell.
Mm-hmm.
Just because Redo, I think, became relevant a total of, relevant a total of twice in the entire tournament.
Mm-hmm.
One of them being that last game where I redoed the Autumnal Watch when he didn't have the open red.
Mm-hmm. Otherwise, it was feeling more dead than it should.
Yeah. I mean, it allowed me to do a bit of shenanigans there with having the multiple counter spells in the graveyard to up my storm count when I went off,
Mm-hmm.
and just pitting them against one another.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, it just didn't really do the work.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing how creature light in general the meta has been, I think I'd be more inclined just to move negates over to main board.
Okay. And I think like with the nerfing of Adiran Survivor, that'll definitely be the case. Because cheap aggro isn't really being played. Mid-range decks, generally, I don't think your build has to worry about. And then no other decks are really going to be running creatures that like can't be shocked or bolted in some way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I don't have anything else
exactly
I want to say. Do you have any closing statements you want to make?
Just that, honestly, especially given the fact that it's been forever since I've actually done literally any kind of MSEM play,
Mm-hmm.
I am astonished that I was able to pull this off.
Mm-hmm. And that's just a sign like you made some like you put yourself out there, made a deck list that hasn't really been like dabbled with in a while, piloted it well, and now you come to a GP top 1 finish. So congrats.
Uh-huh.
And can't wait to see what the Infuse champion card was going to look like. The first champion of season 3.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I may have to run the deck again just to show that off.
Ooh, okay. Well, I think there's always the risk that like once you win a GP or get like high enough in a GP, people are going to be like hyper aware of that and try to like think about how to brew around it. But also I think Infuse is like a strong enough deck that like it can withstand that. So I would be interested to see like the run back and see how it does.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it's not something that the opposition to wasn't already existing for. I mean, people have been running Sigil of Radiance, people have been running Seal the Tomb, Memento Mori, people have been running
4 out of 5
Guiding
of the
Light.
decks in like top 5 are all Grave combo decks, and we have really good main boardable or sideboardable Grave hate, especially with like, the open sideboards. It's just that these decks have like powerful like resiliency and interaction, and are fast enough that sometimes they can just come out. They can like force the opponent to have it, or they just win.
Yeah, and it's just, I mean, even one game I was in, Guiding Light that was able to hit the field against me, and I still managed to play through that. And half the time I was making it work by actually bolting myself in order to get Pyromancer triggers.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah. Just one of those things where, okay, I had to play around the situation, and I still managed to get it there.
Mm-hmm. And the Shigenja's Castle also gives you like a lot of powerful like room to like sideboard cards of completely different colors. You did sideboard like the Farmer's Repos here, which like I think is hard. Is
that was actually the same game where I got locked out by Guiding Light, and was using that to take out other enchantments.
Yep. But I'd be interested to see if like that brings like any other innovations in the future. Like, because I think like if there's any chance that this deck is going to change, it's just going to be like like the sideboard might change in reaction to the meta, and having Shigenja is basically like, as long as it's an instant or a sorcery, I can pay for it. Is a strong way to always have access to our meta defining cards.
Right. And then of course with the sideboard there, I included those Shrines of the Six Pillars that I could side in just to give me that extra bit of mana fixing based off of my non-creature spells.
Yep.
So the deck definitely has options to expand sideboard-wise into any color there.
Yeah. Especially, like, I think, like, it could, like, if, like, Adiran isn't nerfed, say, and, like, 4 people bring it, you could just be like, okay, I'm going to have Seal the Tomb in my graveyard, in my sideboard. Like, why not?
Mhm.
As long as it's...
Yeah.
I mean, like, you definitely played double, like, you played Farmer's Repos, which is a double-weighted card, but I don't think there's any cards that are, like... I don't think there's any sideboard options that have to be double-weighted that you have to play. Like, I think every effect that you could want could be found in, like, a single-weighted color.
Right, I ran Farmer's Repose because it's the card that I knew off the top of my head that it did what I wanted to do.
Yep.
So
That's fair.
I grabbed it, didn't bother looking for anything else.
Yep. And you still managed to cast it, so more power to you.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, see you next tournament, and for now, see ya.
Yep, see ya.